Dig 247 here, going hard 365 to bring you the latest and greatest in gaming. And today, I'm going to show you about this Sentry build, how these shotguns work. Hopefully we can put on a little shotgun clinic for you. But shotguns are definitely big in PvP right now. And after a lot of experimenting myself, it's definitely going to come down to that burst, which, as we all hopefully know by now, is what it's all about in PvP. It started back with the submachine guns with the high critical chance, simple math, more bullets out of 10 that are critical are going to do more damage, which is very imperative in PvP because you don't have a lot of time to draw down and just kill somebody. Like, if you get somebody in your sights, it has to end quickly, and that's why SMGs are king. And now, you know, everything trying to balance guns, shotguns have come back into the foreground here. SMGs not completely out the pictures, but assault rifles also viable. But anyway, we're here about shotguns and Sentry. So this is what I managed to pick up from the Dark Zone. I primarily run Predator's Mark, and I just was collecting pieces. If they were good, I just set them aside, and with the shotguns came out, I took a look at what I had, and this is how it came together. But I've tested this pretty good here for the past 2 days, so try to share what I know, share what I'm working with, and hopefully teach you a couple things about shotguns and Sentry. So let's talk about the set pieces first. Okay, so I'm running with 4 pieces because I get that bonus with the 2 final measure for the exotic damage resilience, because I like to be able to farm and PvP with the same set, and that is what this allows me to do perfectly. Now I've also got some Savage gloves here. Unfortunately, I don't have the shotgun damage, but they work perfectly fine for the sake of testing this out, and it went well. But I want to wait until I get the shotgun damage to go full on, you know, PvP, ready to do some damage. But for now, final measure, I mean, these are beautiful for now. So we're doing the 2-piece final measure for the exotic damage resilience. Let's go over here. 122,000 health. That's a big deal. I'll get in that in a second. But let's look at the survivability. And one thing I like about these 268 pieces, you can hit the armor cap without having to put armor mods in. And so here, that I'm at the armor cap there, and that is definitely without any mods, and that's why I was really happy with this set. That was one of the first things I noticed. So with that said, and since it's a shotgun build, I feel like you want to have a lot of health because you're going to be very close. That means a lot of frags. That means if somebody tries to shoot a sticky, you know, they're waiting for everybody to get clustered, you're just prime target. So I wanted to have more health. The good thing about the shotgun is you can do a lot of burst damage and not have as much firearms as I usually run with, which I think probably about anywhere from 3,000 to 3,300 is good for just a average, you know, borderline middle of the road build. So that is that. We've got the skill power here, and that could easily be switched for something like crit chance, more exotic damage resilience, you know, pick your poison. But I like skill power. I guess that's my poison. A lot of the time I played this game, especially back when it first came out, I literally had like 5,000 skill power, and that was good enough for me back then. But then, you know, I came back with when they released Clear Sky Incursion, and then you had to have 15,000 to be anywhere worth having a skill in the Dark Zone. And from there it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and now I feel like this is my good number, really like 25,000. But like I said, for this I'm doing a lot of matchmaking. I want to be at my survivability, so that's why that much skill power. And when I talk about abilities, I'll tie that back in and it'll make a lot more sense. So that's why we're running the 4-piece Sentry and the 2 final measure. I try to keep my pieces to show you, you know, how to break down stamina to firearms, because that's kind of important when you're trying to get your stats where you want it. And obviously the holster is always going to have all 3. I always put armor on my holster, no brainer. I always put armor on my chest piece. So let's see, armor, exotic damage resilience, always want armor on your chest piece. That's going to give you the most to that armor mitigation score out of any piece of armor. So always that. Exotic damage resilience is my go-to because, I mean, it's always going to help. And so if you get those 2, great. Ammo capacity versus kill XP, who cares? I prefer ammo capacity, honestly. First aid self heal, definitely a bonus. I'd like that over almost anything. I don't even know what this has. Posturation, no, I'm good. So that is that. And for my mod slots, stamina and stamina crit chance and skill power. You know, the skill power is high. A lot of these are skill power. I just peppered in a couple crit chances because, hey, I'm trying to really be a DPS and I want to be able to burst. So that's that. And I'm pretty sure these are all stamina mods. I'll make sure. But skill power on the mask backpack, only two places you can roll skill power, just raw. So that's where I always put that. Especially for this build. Now if I get a good team together and we start to get the balance in and get that group synergy, I'll probably drop down the skill power, pick up a lot more crit chance, crit hit damage. But for now, middle of the road, this is what I'm rolling with. And this does have firearm skill power. It's probably because that skill power is so high. Or actually I think it's because I wanted to hit that 2900 on the firearms to activate my gun talents. Really, I think it only takes about 2800. I'll show you that in a sec. Here are the knee pads. Sentry's call again. Love shock resistance. I have some with more exotic damage resistance, but since I'm running final measure, I'd rather have the DPS. And then there's the shock resistance, which is just, I love it. Everything else, I mean, hope for the best. As you could see as I'm going through these pieces, a lot of this stuff has really high rolls. Like, I believe this is the first set I've ever put together where everything is over at least 700 on a roll. And I think that's why these stats look so high like this. So backpack now, stamina backpack, more skill power. Definitely could use all three of those being a little bit better, but hey, for these how optimized the set is as far as the rolls go with the stats, that's what I go for before I start talking about minor attributes and skill attributes. Gloves, I showed these briefly earlier. Shotgun damage, the bread and butter of this build. Crit hit chance, crit hit damage. I want that on all my gloves. That's just the way I play. Whatever my main gun is, that's what I want and that's what I like. Skill attributes, crit hit damage is cool. Rather have self heal just because, like I said, this is about that skill power for me, being able to keep myself alive. Holster, all three with the armor, like I said. Skill attribute, again, not the best, but everything came together nicely with the attributes to get everything up pretty high. Let's talk guns. Yes, okay. So shotguns, got a lot to choose from. M870, SASG, Tactical Super, and then they got all variants, double barrel, etc, etc. List goes on. So I like custom 870 because, again, it's about burst, and this is what's going to give me the biggest hit. Like, I have rarely seen people survive 2 to 3 hits from this shotgun. The other ones are just so situational, and I'm not going to say that they aren't effective. Absolutely they are. But this one, 1, 2, if it takes 3, it's good night. So that's why the M870. Hopefully you get a high base roll. One thing I'm learning about these shotguns is that base roll damage on there is very, very important. And keep in mind that looks so high at 107 only because I have that shotgun damage on my gloves. I noticed that if I took that shotgun damage off of my gloves, they'd all be between, I don't know, 80 and probably 100,000 just on what their base damage is without the shotgun damage. So when you put that on there, that's why they start to break 100. So that's that shotgun. Talents. Brutal, I feel, is mandatory. Like, I've tried crit hit damage and all types of things, but it's about burst, it's about hitting that headshot, it's about taking them down. So that's why I say brutal. Responsive, that's just one of my personal favorite talents on any gun that I have. Like, I even have it on my assault rifles, so it's that serious. But responsive, I mean, that's base 14% for being within 10 meters. And if you're doing a shotgun, I feel like this is true wet work. Like, you're going to be within 10 meters. So that's that, especially submachine guns too, hip fire, etc. So that's why I just a strong believer in responsive over almost anything else. Hopefully you can get other things, but responsive is where to start with. Unforgiven, this is kind of an experiment. I've seen the damage get ripped. I feel like because I have such a low firearms, 2900, just enough to activate my talents. As you can see, responsive takes 280, 25. Same with brutal. I'm pretty sure it's that way on all guns. But yeah, 2825 here again. So I just did 2900. I like to see those numbers like that. Oh, we were talking about the shotgun. Okay, so Unforgiven, I've seen that stack up. I mean, that's 24% base damage if I get to that last health bar. There's no telling when that might happen, could happen, etc. But if it does, that's a lot of damage being added versus just having that, you know, flat out crit damage or accurate. And I'll talk about accurate here in a sec. So actually, we'll talk about accurate now. So it comes down to reticle size on these shotguns and how tight that spray pattern is. Try to go down to this gun range and show you. So you see how that reticle is now. Actually, let's try to see if you can see the head. Now that's pretty tight. Now if I take that off, I don't even know if I have the right mod for this. Okay, we can take off this one. And it gets bigger. Yeah, you can see that takes up the whole thing now versus putting it on and it gets smaller. And that's important on the shotguns because you want to keep that as tight as possible. But if you keep it too tight, I noticed that you can start missing shots. Like literally you'll be aiming at the target and because you hit right there, all of those shots completely miss the head. So if you tighten it up too tight, you better make sure you're a good shot. But I like this one. I think it's a good range, but really what it's about is this optimal range. So let's talk about modding for a second. Weapon damage, I mean, that's just flat out. It's going to give every bullet more damage. It's not about crit hit damage here. It's not about crit hit chance on a shotgun, I don't feel. But this optics, optimal range headshot damage. You want to keep headshot damage on there. I've tried different things as I was trying to experiment with optimal range, like accuracy, etc. You could do accuracy headshot, but I like optimal range headshot because if you think about it, that bullet drop off is very, very quick. It's very, very steep and very, very severe. And I noticed the difference when I put this optimal range on there, being able to take people out, just giving them body shots after they had survived, you know, that first headshot or that second one, and they had that sliver left. I could hip fire them and finish them off even at a slight range because of that optimal range. And I think that's going to be the key between your shotgun being better than somebody else's shotgun and how you were able to put this accuracy stability together, because that reticle starts to tighten up so much. I don't know if I have another gun I can show you guys, but let's finish the build and see how much time is left. Okay, so that's why brutal. Those are the talents. Always accuracy, stability. I feel. I don't know if you do a lot of hip fire, sure, but I feel like accuracy just helps all the way around. Like I said, that reticle tightening up. And then when you're shooting a shotgun, you really got to think of it like a snapshot, because these are not the days where you can just sit there and stare down barrel or down sights the way you used to, because you're just a sitting duck when you do that to another teammate who's coming up from behind or the side. You've got to be careful when you do that. Like when you pop out to shoot somebody, it's got to be quick. You've got to be taking them down, and you've got to be ready to roll out, evasive action as we call it in FMF. So that's why accuracy is so important there. Like I said, just to tighten up that reticle. I used to have a shotgun that had accurate, brutal, responsive. It definitely tightened that reticle up even more. But my thing is with the M870, it's not really about being super precise like it is with the SAS-G, where you probably want that extra precision. I actually have a clan member who loves the SAS-G. He's got his reticle super tight. He's actually the one who taught me all this about accuracy, and that's good for him. My aim was not good enough to have it that tight like that. Like I said, I was missing, like, felt like I was just grazing their ear with the shotgun pellets because of how accurate it became. But I feel like this one is actually, I'm testing this one because I just got brutal last night, and there's been rumors that if you roll at certain times you can get certain talents. I rolled last night at like 2:45 right when the server was going down. I got brutal on my first roll after having tried 5 times on this gun. So I think there's a lot of truth to it. That's definitely about the time I always get my best guns. Secondary. So one thing why I like this Sentry build, you can use next dang near any of these guns because it's about that headshot damage. They're all going to destroy. The LVOAC is my new favorite assault rifle. I haven't really tried M4 or anything. I've tried all the